We got a lot of Buells in the parking lot right now. We like it. We're going to start at 6:30 tonight. We still kind of are, but our good friend Erik here is definitely going to come out and he's going to just kind of give us a little rundown on some other things about Buell and EBR there. So in the meantime, then 6:30 we'll kind of get into the bikes a little bit more. So
Introduce the staff, please.
definitely, I'm Jason Rayleigh, Tony Rayleigh, another Tony Rayleigh. We're the owners here at Honda-Yamaha Redlands, and
Welcome to our store.
welcome to our store.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Chris, Mike, and Erik.
Good evening, everybody. Everybody took a ride with us. Thank you very much for joining us for the ride. Well, as Tony and Jason and Tony told you, the scheduled start time is 6:30, so we're still going to do that. But Erik's going to entertain you with a little more information between now and then, just to help pass the time. We do know there's some people who left. They're coming back at 6:30, so we don't really want to start the official presentation until then. But during the interim, Erik's going to entertain you with some information. And did everybody get one of my cards? No? Raise your hand if you didn't get one. Wow. All right, so this card has a dual function. On the front, it'll get you a $500 discount on a motorcycle. And in the back, if you take a selfie with Erik and post it on your own social media and hashtag EBR motorcycles, we're going to check in a few weeks, and whoever has the most likes is going to get some free prizes from us. So you can do that as well. So Rudy,
I did get one. Erik, did you bring a guitar?
Yeah.
Well, if it's a guitar mandolin, I can
Where's 15 minutes?
Well, I just thought, like I said, we're going to officially start at 6:30, so I've got a kind of a two-piece technical presentation that I'm going to do on EBRs, and then I can do Q&A after that. So it's kind of be an overview thing, and then I'm going to talk about one specific system in a lot more detail, give you a little bit of insight into how we think and how we design it in the box. And it isn't goofy stuff, but there's a whole lot of engineering behind it, so I do that. But since you guys are all here a little early, and I thought I would do in the interim, rather than do the promised ones, I'll do something that's a little different. And will be funny for you guys as motorcyclists. I don't know most, so I'm going to be walking around and realize I have to go back and hit the button. But anyhow, one of the things that we were known for at Buell and at EBR is innovative stuff. We do things that are really out of the box. And when I restarted, after Buell was shut down, I restarted EBR with the goal of that it was have sort of three legs to hold up the business. One is I wanted to get back into building America's real sport bikes, and I wanted to take it further than I had been able to do. But the other thing, there were two other things I wanted to do. I wanted to race, but I wanted to race, have somebody else pay for it. So I set up that would be our goal. When we race, if we do a whole lot of co-promotion, we try to arrange things that would. Go ahead. And the third, and probably the most important one of it, was I wanted to do engineering consulting. Because the stuff that we did, kind of the culture and the style that we developed inside Buell, I really believe that this whole American engineering thing brought something special to the motorcycle industry, and not just the special bikes we have, but a unique kind of thinking, and that thinking could be used on more than just high performance sport bikes. And it's like each country has its own style of engineering, and the gap that I saw was that there wasn't much American consulting engineering on. You have a lot of American companies that send work overseas. So you have consulting firms in England, and Germany. You have the ABLs, and you have Ricardos, and you have Porsche in Germany, and you have other things like ABL of India, and companies in Italy that do this kind of stuff. And like I said, each country has its own style. So the Japanese firms tend to be very, very meticulous, and it's a cultural thing. And they do, if you want to refine an existing design to the nth degree, I think there's nowhere in the world that they do it better. And it might relate to just the whole culture, that they want to get along, nobody wants to disturb things much. The country's tight and close and packed. And so they work together well, and they're fine with it. It's almost like a bonsai tree. No one has the patience that they have. The Germans like accomplish something no matter how complicated it is. Right? That just is the standard thing, and they do some pretty amazing stuff. And at the same time, you look at it, that's a lot of stuff. And so each of those countries have a neat flavor to it. And to me, when with Harley and Indian and other companies that it's all about tradition, but there's not much going on in the motorcycle world with innovation. Certainly in the aerospace world and in the computer world and in many other places, America has a great leader. But I thought that would be something I could do, is to do consulting engineering work, maybe some for automotive, but starting out with two-wheeler stuff. And that in my mind, what America has is, I'm a representative, but as I grew Buell, I got people on board who thought out of the box like me. And I really believe this completely. And I think it was proven with what we did with HYR. And I'm going to show you some of that. That's going to be fun. Americans, because we are so diverse, we have every culture, we have every religion. We don't have a standard. We go through change more than any other country. We don't have a long tradition of anything. The tradition we have is that we're kind of revolutionary, we're kind of crazy. And I said, that's what we do. We did it with all the Buell stuff. Like, I got this big Harley engine that shakes like crazy. What do I do? Instead of walking away from it, you're like, well, come up with a rubber mouse. And then I put fuel in the frame. All these things that are like trying to solve a problem that are really shocking. And I also did a consulting project with Buell before Harley bought, before Yamaha, on a project that they later launched. But a guy came to me, and I actually built a prototype of vehicle for them. And it was very radical. They wanted to build a cruiser. This is great. This Harley bought me from that time. They said, you're never allowed to speak about the stuff you did for Buell. But anyway. So the guy who was in charge of the concept vehicles for Yamaha in the U.S., I know him really well. He and I were inducted in the Motorcycle Hall of Fame the same year. He's the guy who did the VMAX, drove that and other stuff. Well, he came to me and said, we want to build a cruiser. This is 1991. So Harley bought us in 93, so it was prior to that. It was 91. We want to build a cruiser out of the VMAX motor. And I'm going to come to you because I saw what you did with these Harleys, and that was I was building the original R1000, the R1200, and RSs, and he said, you're a sport bike guy, I know you're an ex-racer, you used to race Yamahas, but you've got that Harley stuff in you, you worked there for years. We'd like to have you give you a flavor of what you do as a concept bike. It's got to kind of look like a Harley, but give it a Yamaha flavor. So I took the VMAX motor, and I built a chassis around it. It was a cruiser chassis, big fat back. But I put fake fins on the motor. I put the radiator behind the motor with a scoop that came up underneath and blew the air through the radiator and exhausted behind the passenger's legs. I made inverted forks that looked like they're conventional, but they were inverted. And I got the chassis stiffness more than double than what a VMAX was. And also turned it into what I call the Mighty Twin, which is made a crank so it fires a twin rather than a four-cylinder. So I went out, I wrote it, and I said, what's the things that are missing is, well, first of all, it doesn't look right. I want the radiator to disappear. That looks terrible on it. So that's why I put that back. Well, the water went through the frame tubes, through the lower frame tubes, to the radiator and back through, so there was nothing but a little short stub hose hidden up under the tank. Also put the frame into a horizontal backbone frame that had holes punched in it, and all the electronic components sat in those holes, so the wiring harness was all inside the tube, and you could service each one of those things, right? And again, built the engine with Spire as a twin, again, because the power was great, but it sounded, I know, they wanted something to sell to people like cruisers. It's like, this is not, you know, it's not right. They want, you know, but I don't want to give a horsepower away. So let's leave it full VMAX horsepower, but make it fire that way. I had this all done. It was really cool. And brought in the engineers from Yamaha, and they were walking around the bike going, talking to each other, and there's all this silence, and I turned to the guy, and I said, what are you thinking? He went, you're too extreme, man. They're not like it. Well, that became the Royal Star, whatever it was that they came out. When they built it, they had a radiator in front. It was still ran as a 4-cylinder. They detuned it to give it torque, so it didn't have horsepower. And I was frustrated because I was like, damn, I made this really cool bike. And I said, you know, that's what we do here. And that really motivated me to keep doing things with fuel. So again, as we went ahead and we did more things, that ability to like think out of the box and just do crazy stuff is something that needs to be brought to the industry. Not that it's better than anything, but it's unique, it's different, and it's a flavor that came in. So when I started EBR, so here it is that we were going to build sport bikes, do engineering services, motorcycles, consulting work, and racing promotion. So this you guys will know about more. So this is a presentation I do on engineering. So this is what we're doing, consulting engineering and capabilities we had. We were doing everything from design to simulation, verification, testing, assembly, and it talks about a lot of the things that we do. And you'll see this, a lot of the stuff's around this bike that we did for Hero. And I'll show you some more of the stuff that we did. But it's a unique engine. What we did with mock-ups was, so we did scans of the competitive products. So you could look at them in 3D space to try to get because marketing would always say we want to wait until there's a clay vehicle all put together to look at it, and that's too late. You know, you want to see it early. We did all the assembly and service reviews, you know, in 3D, where we'd say, okay, what are the service tools in a shop? Put them in the drawing and stuff like that. So we would get service people involved in a virtual world way early, and try to get as much input as again. It's again the diversity of input. The other thing that I always learned was, you know, companies in America wind up diluting often, not by me, but wind up messing up this whole communication process that you can get with diversity because they put it into boxes and silos, and once something's through here, it's handed off to here. You really need everybody talking together in form early enough that you can maybe do a pretty radical change to the design. If somebody in service goes, you know what, that's going to be horrible to do. But you do that before you've cut any metal, before you've done, you know, spend too much money.
Eric, can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, sorry. I'm always thinking I'm too loud. So, first thing we did for Hero, and so you guys, some of you guys may be aware of this, but I'll try to tell you. Maybe many of you don't. So I started up EBR. The first thing we did was build the first 1190 RRs and start selling race parts for fuels. And then I built the first 1190 RR, a couple of race bikes, and then started working on the 1190 RS. But I was looking for consulting work. And I, through made a connection with these people at Hero, and they talked to me and came in and looked at us, and I said, you know, I'm interested in doing work. And they're like, yeah, you build race bikes, or whatever. We had some discussions. Well, they had split with Honda, and the CEO told me it's a very amicable split. We've been together for a long time, but we bought out Honda, and they're going their way, and we're now going to go globally. And I said, it won't be an amicable split, because whether you be friends or not, Honda is a very serious business, and they're going to come after you. No, I don't think so. So he called me late, about 6 months after he had met me. He met me and flew some guys and met with me again. Not much had happened. We kind of brainstormed about some things we might do for global, and I was kind of giving advice. He came back to me in October of 2011 and said, things are horrible over in India. Honda's attacking us in the press daily. They're saying that without Honda, Hero is nothing, and all they did was do contract assembly work for us, and we're going to wipe them out, and I have nothing to respond with. I never thought they'd do this. What do? They say that at the show in January of 2012, they're going to show all new products and show that Hero is no longer valid and Honda's the way of the future. I said, well, I can't design you a whole new motorcycle, so what can we do? He says, I've got to have them believe that Hero is an innovative company, that we're about the future, that we're not about old, that we can do dramatic, innovative stuff. And he said, I need something radical on that. And I said, well, what? I don't know, something that's out of the box. And I said, well, do something that people won't expect you to deliver right away, but that's out of the box. So maybe electrical. Then he came back and he talked to his guys and he said, hey, what I want is an electrical scooter for women in India. I go, okay, right in my wheelhouse. So this is October, and they want it. So they said, okay, just give us something that we can put on a stand. It doesn't have to work, but have a story behind it. So we shipped this in the middle of December, a serial hybrid scooter for women, and it was a functioning, running prototype. There were 11 of us there. We were also doing the RS at the same time. We did not sleep for 12 weeks. Wow. It has 12 patents on it. It was radical, and it was the #1 show product, two-wheel product of the Delhi show. Delhi show is like a para show. It's auto and motorcycles, but there's more motorcycles sold than automobiles, so motorcycles are a huge part of it. And the press immediately went, yay for the home team, to heck with Honda. They way overreacted, but you would expect that, right? Because they didn't happen to respond to, I guess Hero's going down. So then they started giving me more work. I was really proud of that. I could go through all the list it had, but it had a lot of really cool stuff on it. So it's a serial hybrid scooter, has a battery pack under the floor, and it has a charging motor. So it's a serial hybrid like a Volt or like a railroad locomotive. The motor only charges the batteries. So you don't have, like a Prius is a parallel system. The parallel systems are cool. They have a few advantages one way, but one thing is, especially if you have a small vehicle, they're complex because you have to have two drive systems and two control systems because both the gasoline engine and the electrical engine have to drive the wheel and have to respond to the driving thing. So it's complicated. It's something the size of a scooter that's hard to do. So what we did is ask, so when the throttle and everything that you control is just an electric motor driving everywhere, and the little motor charges the battery, and it self-starts was the idea that it was. This had a lot of neat stuff on it too. That we did that never made it much farther. For example, what I did was, the first thing I did is I had somebody talk to, I talked to a woman in India that I happen to know, a young woman who's an industrial designer, trained in Italy. And I said, I've got a panic project for you. You've got to tell me, what do women in India like about scooters? What do they like about electric? What don't they like? Just give me a thing. And then go online and have your friends come around, the people who would buy this thing, and just send me pictures of the scooters you like and the ones you don't like, whatever's out there. And so what I got back from was, they hated all the radical, zippy-looking scooters. They liked stuff that looks a little Vespa-y, that was rounded and softer looking, right? They didn't want the hot rod kid things, and that's a good thing to know, right? They also came back and said, we think electric's wonderful because we want to help the world be green. But if an electrical vehicle breaks down, runs out of battery, we feel we were really at risk. We could be hurt, robbed, something like that. We don't like that, scares us. And then they said, well, and also, when you're riding a scooter or something like that, your hands could get hit by mirrors. And then they said, the other thing is in scooters, we like scooters much better than motorcycles because the water doesn't get on you because we're riding. We wear dresses, right? But then when the cars pass you, the water goes right from the side of the scooter opening and all over your legs and everything else. So, the other thing they said was, and it's really hot, and we're wearing thin clothes, and when we sit down on the seats and grab the handlebars, they're hot, they're black, and they burn, and that's uncomfortable. So, it's got a pale gray seat. We can't see it. It's got pale gray hand grips. It's got bark busters for the mirrors. Another thing they didn't like, which is really interesting, is they said, well, we have to have it refueled. The people that work at gas stations are pretty, and they invade our space. You have to get off of the thing and there, lift up the seat and put the scooter in, and that's where, we don't like that. It's much better in a car. We just roll the window down and roll back up here. So, this door pops open and the gas caps behind sit and look at them and watch them and they never fix them up. This little thing here, you know what a Japanese fan or the Oriental fans are split open? This is a set of 5 little plastic things that are shaped like this. They're pivoted on an axis around here. And then they're linked together with little hooks. Well, they fold up like a fan when you stop. And as you pull away from the stoplight, as soon as it's got speed, they go, and they fold down. And they block the water from going inside. So they fill this whole area that goes from here to here.
That's fantastic.
So it did all this 12 ways. Other ways.
Was that vehicle brought to market and sold?
I'll get a little further. So then after that, they came back and they said, well, what we want to do now is we want to go global. We want to export. The biggest bike we make now is a 220 and a 150 and a 100. And we want you to help us improve those because Honda's bringing new stuff. We want you to give us power and can you put bigger tires? Can you make those bikes a little more modern? But we also need a brand new greenfield engine families so we can go global. And we don't want any parts to be shared, nothing common with any Honda or Yamaha, not on seal, not on anything. So we did it and designed it, and it has 3 derivatives too, which I can't show you because they've never shown publicly. This was shown publicly. There was a Street Fighter 2, and then there was an on-off dual-purpose bike, and then there was a cruiser. It is more powerful than the Honda. CBR 250. The on-off dual purpose was a lot more. We also did this super bike, 20 cylinder.
Wow.
Has some really innovative stuff that actually probably wasn't announced publicly, but it's a really pretty cool project. And we did this project, which is there's a lot of in the rural parts of India and in Asia and in South America. A lot of people, the roads are narrow, there's only single track roads. Well, motorcycles have become hugely important because that's allowed commerce to work. People can bring their eggs to market wherever, they can go shop, they can come back, they can do things. They use it as little trucks. If they're a service guy, if they're a guy who does things. But what they're using is an old Honda that was designed for a completely different purpose in the 1960s. And I said, okay, if you wanted to build something that was a utility motorcycle, well, maybe it wouldn't look like that. So we did this vehicle. And so this is a storage unit. This is actually the headlight. This comes out and goes on a stock for a service light. So if you're a plumber or whatever, using some little trucks. My idea was I want to have a little 2-wheeled pickup truck, So this is a storage area. It also is underneath. These fold out and latch flat so they can carry a big load on the back. You can carry a load here and in here, and then it had an optional generator on the motor, high output generator that was similar to the thing we were doing on the serial hybrid anyhow, that helped it being used as a work truck. So you have a power outlet, so you can take power, you can sit there and you can run at a low speed and sorry. We did this. That didn't function, but it was just a fun, what's a motorcycle of 20 years in the future. All these products you're seeing now were shown at the 2014 Delhi show. And so that actually rotates. And so the CG swivels and moves side to side to turn it about these 2 axes. It actually, a 3D model, it works. It's pretty intriguing. It needs a good control system. That stuff's coming. And it was fun. That's just handlebars that do the run pressure. Then we did a little urban electric, which is really a good way to go. That's one place where electrics make sense. Trying to replace a motorcycle with electric. It's going to get there. They're slowly creeping there. It's still not rational because there's just not very much. To buy enough energy to go any kind of speed and distance is a lot of weight, a lot of dollars. That's really what it boils down to. And whether it's the live wire or Brahma or anything else, that's the problem they run to. So you can own one, but you're making a lot of compromises for it. So what I have always been thinking about is I've been into electric for a long time, and I was actually trying to run an electric project inside Harlan as part of Buell before shut down. The one place where electric could really work is in the city. And it works as a nice electric bicycle, but if you have a little electric motorcycle, because you've got something there where you don't need top speed, you don't need a ton of range, but you have a vehicle that doesn't have any fuel in it. So you can take it into an apartment, you can take it inside. There's a lot of things you could do with it that are, that make sense. And, if you own a motorcycle in the city, you can't bring it inside. Few people have garage space. That thing's going to get stolen, and it's a problem. So to me, this makes a ton of sense, and I've got a bucket full of engineering work that explains it, how it works, and why. But if you need range, you need a hybrid right now. Now, what Elon's money and the college money they're going to do in the next 10 years, maybe it'll get there, but it's still a ways off. And then, like I said, we did a bunch of remodeling of updating of their current product. But anyhow, so between 2012 and 14, we showed that back in 2012. Between 2012 and 14, one thing that wasn't in there that showed is we did commercialize the Leap scooter. But I do not believe we got all of those about 95% done when EBR was shut down. But I do not believe HYR is ever going to bring it to market because they have backed away from the global expansion thing because Honda came after them in India in a big way and passed every other competitor to be number 2 or after them. And they announced that, and I believe that when they pulled away from us, they already knew that they were going to regroup and just stay because they sell 6 million motorcycles in India. It makes them a ton of money. There's not much risk. They already have good distribution. They got outdated. They felt that they had to spend a lot of resources there, that way they might lose that market. But whether those ever get built or not, I just wanted to give you an idea of the taste of what we could do and how innovative the products we were doing because you've never seen things like that, and that was so fun. And I was hiring young guys. I mean, I had to ramp up the staff to do this in months. And so, we were bringing in guys, and we would interview them for whether or not they could handle stress, because I want people that can handle stress. And some people don't, and that's okay. I want people who thrive in stress. And so we had a special interview process that kind of went through that. And when I brought them on board and said, okay, here's the deal, you have a whole ton of freedom. And I have a whole engineering process, I won't go into here, we do go into that, of how we manage projects and how we keep communication in real time. Some proprietary software that we wrote that we still have. We actually wrote it in Buell and we still have an EDR. That's really cool. It helps people that are scattered around live in real time on a project. And so we turned all those projects around in a crazy short time with a bunch of people who were, most of them were kind of motorcycle fans, like probably 100%, but they had never really worked on motorcycles. And we had, again, a diversity of background of people from the U.S. and we also got a couple guys from Europe to join. We got a guy from Japan to come join from Yamaha who was on board with us. And it was just a hoot. The environment and that kind of open thinking really did something special. It's a shame these products aren't going to see. It just makes me crazy that they're never going to be produced because the IP, the EBR winner, HYR bought the IP out of the receivership for all those projects.
Wow.
But anyhow, that's my way.
Guys,
Fill in some time.
Let's give him just a few minutes, and then if you guys want to take a little break for a second, and then we'll go over the box.
I did burn up half an hour. I hope it didn't bore you.
No, that was fascinating.